The world of boxing is filled with stars, but there's one name in the East on the rise. Just ask WBC President Mauricio Suleiman.
We have Canelo Alvarez, we have Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Crawford, Joshua, Usyk. There's so many great things going on. Inoue in Japan. So many great things going on in the whole world.
Finally, Naoya Inoue is getting some recognition. But what more can he do to become the sport's biggest name?
There's so much farther to go before I reach my peak, and I still don't know my true potential. I have to keep going. I still have 7 or 8 years left in my career as a pro, and so I'm going to keep heading higher.
Going higher, literally, is the key. But for a heavyweight like Anthony Joshua, there is no higher. For Oleksandr Usyk, some thought moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight might have been a step too far. Cruiserweight tops out at 90 kilos, or 200 pounds. That may seem like a lot, but Tyson Fury is more than 30 kilos, or around 70 pounds heavier. The higher up the divisions, the bigger the weight divides become. That's why the champs at multiple weights, like the greatest divisional jumper of all time, Manny Pacquiao, have always been the smaller guys. The Pac-Man started way down in the flyweight divisions, just above where Inoue did, but he managed to use his power and speed to win titles all the way up to junior middleweight. That's where Canelo Alvarez, the biggest name in the game, got his first world title, and that's the sort of megastar name Inoue will have to beat if he wants to take over. But it's highly unlikely that he'll go up that far. Not even Pacquiao made that many jumps, but there is one big name he could go after, and it would make for an excellent fight.
I feel as though I'm already that guy in the sport. Canelo going out the door. All these guys I'm the face of boxing. Let's just see that.
Inoue versus Gervonta Davis would be amazing. In terms of height, reach, wins, and knockouts, Inoue is just a touch behind the American. In terms of weight, though, there's a reason one of these guys is called Tank. But that is exactly the sort of fight that creates a legend. The monster, standing in the way of a tank with firepower like that, would be like Pacquiao moving up to take on the hitman Ricky Hatton. But we all know how that turned out. Tradition holds that the heavyweight champion of the world is known as the baddest man on the planet. They are the juggernauts of combat, and their physical attributes provide a feast for the eyes. With a lower limit of 91 kilograms or 200 pounds and no upper limit, you would presume the bigger the better. But throughout the ages, a few smaller pugilists would break the mold and win a world title. The smallest heavyweight champion in history was Tommy Burns, who won the belt in 1906. He measured only 5'7" and a meager 175 pounds. That's the size of modern light heavyweight champions like Bernard Hopkins and Sergey Kovalev. Burns would eventually lose the title to Jack Johnson in 1908. The so-called Galveston Giant measured a shade over 6 foot tall, but weighed only 200 pounds. That's the heavyweight minimum. Still, that was massive compared to future heavyweight champions like the legend Jack Dempsey, who tipped the scales at just over 191 pounds. As did the man who beat him, Gene Tunney. Max Schmeling was remembered as a towering figure, but measured less than 6 feet and weighed only 194.
Oh boy, that's great.
And the 6-foot Jersey Joe Walcott won the title at 37, despite being only 196 pounds. And Walcott's career was brought to a close with 2 losses to the most successful big little man the world has ever seen. Rocky Marciano, the Brockton blockbuster, was only 187 pounds and 5'11". In fact, Rocky's 173-centimeter reach is the shortest of any heavyweight champ. But what Marciano lacked in size, he made up for in power, and has one of the highest knockout ratios in history, finishing 43 of his 49 wins via KO. and he never lost a fight, not one. It is worth repeating that this is the heavyweight division, so none of these fighters had to cut weight. In fact, these days, they all would have been fighting in the Cruiserweight division, which tops out at 200 pounds. But it wasn't created until 1979. In the modern era, small heavyweights are less common, and the Goliaths of the division are, well, truly giant. There's the 6'9", 277-pound lineal champ, Tyson Fury. Arch nemesis Deontay Wilder is also a giant at 6'7". Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua were 6'6" apiece. And before them all, former WBA champ Nikolai Valuev stood 7 feet tall, more than a foot taller than Rocky. Mike Tyson didn't come anywhere near those numbers and was even 1 centimeter shorter than the aforementioned Rocky Marciano. The infamous champ stood at 5'11", but that didn't stop him becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history at 20, and the first to unify all 3 major titles. Former Cruiserweight champ Oleksandr Usyk, who at 6'3", packed on some size to face unified champ Anthony Joshua, AJ towered over the Ukrainian at 6'6", and outweighed him by almost 20 pounds. It didn't matter. Usyk stunned AJ with a boxing clinic and dominated from start to finish to win the heavyweight crown by unanimous decision in front of 65,000 fight fans in London. Andy Ruiz Jr., who is shorter than Usyk by 1 inch, shocked the world 2 years earlier by stopping AJ in the 7th round to snap Joshua's undefeated streak and become unified champ. It's a little different in the world of MMA, where in the UFC, the heavyweight limit stands at 265 pounds. This doesn't stop monsters like the hard-hitting 6'4" champ Francis Ngannou from walking around like a comic book superhero. And the 6'3" UFC champ, WWE superstar, and freak of nature Brock Lesnar reportedly weighed 280 pounds before cutting weight to make the big boy limit. Daniel Cormier is the exception to the rule, considered to be small even for the light heavyweight division, which you'll notice whenever he faced off with arch nemesis and division GOAT, John Jones. DC's diminutive stature was also on display when he came face-to-face with heavyweight GOAT Stipe Miocic throughout their trilogy. But the height discrepancy clearly didn't matter to Cormier in their first encounter. Light heavyweight champ DC captured the baddest man on the planet mantle by knocking out Miocic in the very first round to become champ. Conventional wisdom in the fight game is that size equals power, but these champions of history prove that a smaller man can still leave a gigantic legacy. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.